Order for your more car by best so like you comment in our subscribe to the channel now. Aye, in some yet and say, Asiedu Nketia, at my storm, me Jubilee House, no could do Jubilee House, or the any chair, John Dramani Mahama, the office, no could do an auction and say, painting, office of the special prosecutor, or share and Pasubi and so, Kisija being, or share Nema, or your Ghana ha, what you Ghana escape Sky, Yede, South Office war, now share Sky, Ghana for here, and the Aboyambra. Nature say, Kisija being such office what I say, or near Macassa, Cassa, whom soon if I so share, when Timmy Chain back Ukraine, or should I not be a press conference? Press conference is for Pasubi and Suntinum. Wahoka John Dramani Mahama say, so office and Osha no moon to go now first canon Mapana, office of the special prosecutor there. Any other baby if Maba, any Asiedu Nketia, or Kibi Pa, Archer, John Dramani Mahama say, so office way, on Shedamon, now share. Can't tank a crowd, oh yeah, it will Ghana how and there, what we have to one side list and there, or no way in if so. In some way, investigation be all ye piano and shed dances so. And I know now, and the setting invitation won't say, so one share no one casa and share, John to my Mahama, a pay bit me book Ghana for any mass, any party. Tianco, Ninquity, Asiedu Nketia, how I the situation be acquired.
To do a special work. Okay. Now, if he's doing a special work, why can't the OSP bring in, issue arrest warrant or look for Kenoforiata or declare him wanted? Why doesn't he have the power to do that?
Thank you, Paul. As you can tell, I'm very tired, but
we're sorry.
Me here.
Yeah.
Paul, very respectfully, let me start by saying that corruption, anyone who is fighting corruption should be given all the support in this world.
Yes.
Because oftentimes the resources that get taken are resources that belong to everybody, the born, the unborn, and the dead. And so if somebody, engages in corruption, it is not just about us, the living. It's also about the future generation. So it's such a big thing. And that I want to state categorically on your show that we should throw resources behind any institution of state that is fighting corruption, because it's a bad thing. However, we should be mindful of how the fight is pursued. It should be in accordance with due process of law. And that has always been my position. And so my position is not a personal position against anybody at the OSP.
So in due process of law, what can't the OSP do? As we're talking, the producer will be showing some of the events in Kenoforiata's house. But tell us, why is there no due process?
The OSP is established by an act of parliament. Mm-hmm. It cannot do anything which its foundational act or its founding act, right, does not give it the power to do. Mm-hmm. It cannot do anything unless the founding act expressly says so. Mm-hmm. Two, I've also heard this argument that it is in our ally, it is in the legislative instrument of the OSP. You cannot have anything in your ally. You cannot have anything in your ally which is not consistent with the parent act.
There's a parent act and there's an ally.
The legislative instrument.
That enables the OSP.
Enables the OSP.
Okay.
They can't have any law in there, any power in there, which is not a power given to them by the enabling act.
Don't they have a broad spectrum to operate, given that they are investigating corruption? Given that they can investigate the vice president, they can investigate the president, they can even investigate the attorney general, who is technically their boss. So they will have this broad spectrum.
Okay. So, Paul, when you look at the OSP Act, their mandate in terms of investigations and corruption, investigations and prosecution, are just three. Mm-hmm. You can categorize it into three. Investigation and prosecution in breaches of the Public Procurement Act, investigations and prosecution of offences which are corruption and corruption-related offences under Act 30.
Yeah,
and investigation and prosecution of offences in other acts.
Is the Attorney General's power to investigate broader than the OSP's?
Of course.
Oh, it is?
The OSP's power, right? So I've told you the categories of offenses which they are mandated to investigate.
Something like 3 or 4.
In broad sense, there are 3. The Attorney General has power to investigate and prosecute every offense under Act 30 or any other law for that matter.
And it includes the offenses that the OSP is mandated to prosecute.
Yes, because you see...
So the OSP's mandate is not taken out of the Attorney General's mandate. It's not the duplication then.
Exactly. And this is where the confusion is, is always inherent. The Attorney General's power is a constitutional power. You cannot amend the Constitution by an act of Parliament.
Okay, let's not get too legal. Let's get into it.
Okay.
Before then, though, let me say hello to Musa Dankwa. You see, the other day, I said that... Chairman, apologies. I'm sorry. Thanks for coming. I'm talking to Lawyer Bafo, then I'll come to you. I've seen your post on the National Service. I interviewed them yesterday, so after you go, we'll play the interview. Thank you. Welcome. Lawyer, so what they...
You cannot amend the powers of the Attorney General, right, by an act of Parliament, unless it is not an entrenched provision.
So can the Attorney General tell OSP that? Leave Oforiatta alone, I'll deal with it.
Yes.
He can do that now?
He can do it.
And OSP must comply?
You see, wait.
Must the OSP comply if he does that?
You see, when you look at the OSP's Act, when you look at the OSP's Act, they will tell you that he doesn't take direction from the Attorney General. That's what they are going to tell you. But Paul, the power to prosecute is a constitutional power which is vested in the Attorney General.
The OSP Act gives him the power to prosecute as well.
Who gave him that power?
The Act.
The Act. Who passed that Act?
Parliament.
Parliament, right?
Yes.
Does Parliament have power, okay, to give the OSP the power to prosecute? The power to prosecute is solely for the Attorney General.
Yes, but in the OSP's Act, the recommendation comes to the President from the Attorney General.
So there is a challenge with the OSP Act. There seems to have been a compromise. The compromise is because it was a law that was initiated by the Attorney General himself.
You know, we have to get into the Oforiatta conversation, but just to say something for you, I know that you have had this conversation with me before. I don't want people to think that because MPP is in opposition, you have held this view when MPP was in power, that this OSP thing is wrong.
Yes.
You have held that view.
Yes,
so I want to put on record that as a journalist, Lawyer Bafo had told me, even when MPP was in, you had had arguments with Godfrey Dami that have been there, where you've argued with Godfrey Dami that this OSP thing, it doesn't work.
No.
Yeah, you did.
You see, when the Attorney General wants to give you his power, delegate his prosecutorial powers to you, there's a procedure by which it is done.
That's for the police and all of those people.
Exactly. But
the Attorney General said in his press conference that he's unaware that OSP is doing this, but he's going to call him to give him the list of cases that he's doing. But let's move in. So what did the OSP do wrong by going to Ken Oforiatta? He's looking for him.
Paul,
he's had exchange of letters with him.
Paul, we need to agree on one thing. The power of the OSP is not limitless. The power of the OSP, apart from its act, right, is also limited by Act 30, which is the
Criminal Procedure.
Criminal Offences and Procedure Act, Act 30. It is also limited by Article 23 and 2/9 of the 1992 Constitution.
Rights of people.
Yes, he has to act in a manner which is fair. He has to act in a manner which is candid. He has to act in a manner which is not arbitrary.
What he did in going to Ken Oforiatta's house, what's the problem with it? No, I mean, he says he didn't go to Ken Oforiatta's house, by the way. So we are explaining what he did by holding a press conference to declare Ken Oforiatta a wanted man. The next day he published